welcome to another amazing interview with Karen Asemper, the Dream Alchemist. We're interviewing today the amazing artist Toby Latham. I've had the pleasure of coming to see Toby's work. I've actually bought a piece of Toby's work. I was so impressed, and that painting, Toby, I have to say, makes me smile every single day. Every time I walk down the stairs and I see it, it's so beautiful. So just to ask you, what got you into art? Were you always passionate about art, or?
Well, as a child, I always liked making things and drawing and doing things, and yeah, I suppose it was something I always did, and I was always, quite good at. But as I got older and I did A levels and things, and I just decided then that I wanted to do a more take on a creative career. But at the time, I was still sort of quite robust in my ideas and wanted a career. So I thought about doing architecture, and but I realised it was a 7-year degree at that time, and that put me off. Now, actually, as it happens, I spent more than 7 years studying fine art, basically. So it was a bit bizarre in the end. Maybe I should have gone down the architecture route. But I went to art school and I just really loved it. We got to try out lots of different disciplines, and then at that time I realised that the thing that I really loved doing, it didn't really matter that there wasn't huge success rates in terms of making money out of it. I decided I wanted to be an artist.
So you just said there wasn't huge success rates in making money out of art.
No.
So is it just following your passion?
Yeah, it was something I just absolutely loved doing. And at the time, I suppose, when you are that age, you have the luxury that you don't need a lot of money because you haven't got any responsibility, have you? So yeah, that's when I started experimenting with it and exploring what I really love doing. And I was lucky in that in terms of my mum, she always said to me, which I'll always remember, is it doesn't matter what you do as long as you're happy doing it.
Yeah, and that is so important, isn't it?
It is. I think it's something we come back to, Karen.
Happiness?
Just learning that what you do, if you love what you do, you don't necessarily need, I call them tokens, I think we call them money, but you know what, you can't, money's important because you need to buy things to survive and things like that, but doing what you do is really just as important, if not much more important.
Yeah, very true.
Which is probably something I've learned a little from yourself.
Oh, thank you. So your latest exhibition that we had, it was a week ago now. What was the inspiration behind it? Because it's been so successful, it's unbelievable.
No, thanks for saying that.
Yeah,
the inspiration behind it's been, the exhibition was called Journeys in Asia. I've travelled a lot in Asia and spent a lot of time there, and I've always loved being there. Earlier, I lived in London for 10 years, and a lot of the inspiration then regarding my work was the city and urban environment. And then when I left London, the positive was that it really gave me the opportunity to travel again, to go to other countries again, and revisit maybe some places that I've been before. And I just decided then it was time to not necessarily change the work, but to change the subject matter. To something that I was passionate about again. And basically they're about documenting a moment in time to me in these places and that feeling of those places, really.
So do you find your inspiration from travelling?
Yeah, I love travelling. It really, I think it's a combination of things, but I think it really empties your mind so that you can receive things again. Because I think the way we all live within modern society, we're so busy doing that we don't actually have time to think about it. Whereas when you travel, you're there, aren't you? You're just doing there. You're being there. You're experiencing and you're observing, which is a great feeling, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Tell me how how it felt. I was at your exhibition and there was a piece of work that at one point you had 4 people, including myself, wanting to bid and fight after this piece of work, and in the end the guy just pulled his checkbook out and said, we'll just take it here and now. How does it feel to know that you've created something that people just absolutely adore, that makes a difference? How did it feel on that, in that moment, on that night?
I think it's a mixed emotion. I think when I've always been quite fortunate in that I've always been able to sell my work.
Yeah.
Not that I make things especially that are saleable, but I think they appeal to quite a wide audience. And at that moment, there was a mixed feeling because there's a lot of myself put into these things.
Yeah.
So I know that something's going.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't have enough space to keep them all and to have them all around me. But no, I felt I was delighted that somebody else wanted.
Or quite a few people, actually.
I suppose it's a part of me really in the day, it's not a feeling that I ponder on. I think it's a process. I suppose it's a transaction at the end of the day, and I've had the experience from making the piece.
Yeah.
If that answers it, but that's for me the big part of what I do is about making the work.
Yeah.
So I've had the experience, so I'm passing the experience on to someone else maybe. Which is nice as well, it's a nice feeling.
You've put a lot of time and effort into your work as well, haven't you? You know, creating these absolutely.
It's not just the time. It's not just the time of making them, it's the experience probably that's gone into them, which I suppose is, it kind of crosses over with the things that you do in terms of life. Life is where we get our experience. Life happens to us, and then at that, it's not about that moment where you make it, it's about what's happened that's inspired you to make those things, and the process that you've gone through, all the things that happen to us, enable you then to make it.
Because we always think, and I wrote a blog about it actually, it was about time, and I put in that blog, it was about, we always think it's the end goal, don't we, the finished product, the piece, but it is that journey that brings us. That's the most important part, that gives us that peace, that experience in it, really. And we forget about that, don't we?
Yeah, you do, because we're going back to what I was saying before, life is so busy these days. Yeah. I think so many people are just running around trying to make ends meet, aren't they, as well, and the pace of life has changed, in terms of the use of the internet and mobile phones, and it's hard to get those moments. And I suppose the reality is that I get those moments by making my art. I mean, I did an interview earlier today, which is a written interview, but one of the things that was discussed is the process of making. For me, it might sound a bit crazy, but it's my meditation. Now I don't meditate, I am quite a spiritual person, but the element of spirituality comes for me from it's my painting basically. I don't do other things, but it's an important part of me, and that's that time that I take to myself basically. Which I know you write a lot about spirituality and things that can help people in their lives. That would be, because there are times in my life where I haven't felt able to paint. Yeah. I suppose they call it artist blocks.
Yeah.
But you know what, realistically, in life, we don't term them as artist blocks. I think people do get blocks, don't they?
Yeah, of course they do. So how do you overcome those blocks then?
Life has taught me sometimes that you can't rush it. Sometimes you do have to do a little bit of waiting sometimes.
Because we're always so busy, we want things now.
I think the fortunate thing, and this is where I don't like the word training, but I would refer back to training. I was looking to go to some good art schools. Now you can't teach people how to paint really. You can give them ideas and you can give them practical processes. And I do believe there's an artist in anyone, because everyone can do something. But that discipline and training is something that I refer back to when I do have a block.
Yeah.
And I think quite often, realistically, the block isn't necessarily about the art. It might be about something that's going on in your life that you're not quite happy with.
Yeah.
And but in the way that training, in terms of arts training, helps with that, then maybe there's other elements of things, like things that you do yourself, like meditation, life coaching, etc. That are, once again, it's a process. It just helps you maybe think in a slightly different way and take a starting point.
Yeah.
And then when you move on from a starting point, things become easier, don't they?
Yeah, they do. What advice would you give to somebody who, I believe that everybody has a dream from maybe being a child or the ambition of something to do, but like you mentioned before about sometimes we can be scared about finances or whatever, and we can let that hold us back, can't we? So what advice would you give to somebody who wants to pursue their dream of being an artist and expressing their creativity, but maybe is scared, thinking, oh my God, because I think sometimes a lot of people think that they would just have to quit the day job and just sit and paint every single day. What advice would you give? Because I know that hasn't been that path for you. What advice would you give?
I don't think you need to quit your day job. I think what you need to do is you need to make time for yourself. So I think that's really important. That's one thing. I think if you enjoy something and enjoy doing something,
yeah,
it doesn't have to. You don't have to be on the front page of every magazine, or you don't have to be. Success comes in different ways to different people, and I think you've got to. It's like some of the things you talk about, Karen, really, in your blogs and some of your writings. It's about accepting yourself, isn't it, and recognising what you like doing, because often we all do things just because we think that other people want us to do them.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. I think the other thing is that dreams aren't necessarily easy to come by, and they take time.
Yeah.
And there might be different times in your life where you're ready for something different and new. I know for me, I was, it's nearly a year ago now, but I turned 40, and it's not a big milestone in terms of age or anything like that. I'm quite happy being 40, sort of. I wish I was 21. But for me, it was just about, at that point, I just thought, I only get one go at this, this journey, this game called life, and I thought I'm going to start focusing on the things that are important to me, not on the things that everybody tells me are important on the news, like paying my mortgage, which I do. Yeah. Or having this or having that or having the other. And sometimes you can do without some things, and you can really win from other things that are like, they might not cost as much, but they're worth the weight in gold, as it were, which is, what I've done really in terms of trading in one lifestyle for another. So, and
it suits you.
It suits me at the moment. That's right. Things might change, but dreams aren't easy. Like we all think. I suppose we're all taught to think that dreams are something that comes easily, but if it did,
either comes easily or they're a dream and they're untouchable or unreachable.
Yeah, I think you've got to make your dreams realistic as well, haven't you? And you've got to recognise, which is something that I think you've taught me a little bit, is recognise when you've done well and you've achieved something. Because sometimes we don't always think that, do we?
Yeah.
Because not everyone's telling us.
Yeah. But that's it, I think you hit the nail on the head before, which is it's about yourself, making that time for yourself. Success comes in many different forms. You don't have to be on the front cover of a magazine every single day or on the next
I can't think of anything worse.
celebrity TV show. it's doing what you want, what you aspire to, and what's relaxing for you, isn't it really?
Yeah.
What is the next thing then for Toby Latham? Where do we go from here? So you've had this amazing exhibition. I've actually seen another piece that I want to buy. And I'm like that thinking, oh no.
Well, I hope you bought your ticket.
So what happens next for you? So you've had this amazing exhibition. And so where do you go from here?
There's quite a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to be making a bit more of a piece of public art, basically, within Temple Works, which is a very historical building. I've been asked to do, I suppose what you call it, is a mural, which is something I was asked to do it about 6 months ago. I've been putting it off because I've been getting the show ready, basically. But it's something that's probably top on my priority list, so I'll be starting that very shortly. And the next step will be taking the work down to London to show in London, which once again is really exciting. I think that'll happen at the beginning of next year. And the big thing, as much as it's been so busy over this last few weeks, I'm really looking forward to getting back into the studio and starting painting again, because I miss it. Because it's not so much for me about what I've learned about myself is, even though I am commercially aware, it's not something in terms of this dream that I want to be involved in. So I've got a new London agent, and for me it's about making the work and they can do the rest, because I'm just really passionate about the work and I need to meditate on my work. So I want to start painting again, which I'll be doing very shortly.
So if people want to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you? Website or?
My website is www.toby Latham.co.uk, and you can contact me via the contact part of the website.
So I was very blessed because I had, I was allowed to come down here before you exhibit the works, and I was really lucky because I got to choose a piece of work which I purchased from you. So if somebody wants to do that, can they contact you? Would they be able to have a private view?
I really enjoy people coming down to the studio.
It's a fantastic place, by the way.
It is a fantastic.
Really
I'm very lucky. We have great lighting here. Obviously, we don't want to be inundated with people, because this is an ongoing project, really, in terms of the building, and there's some very committed people here, which make everything happen. But yeah, people, if you want to drop me an email, we can make a time for studio visits. Normally happen Saturdays and Sundays, which is a great time to come during the day because the light is so nice in here.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Toby.
You're welcome, Karen. It's always nice to see you.
I know, and thank you very much for your time, and you can move today.
You're welcome. Thanks, Karen.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye.